Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Stargirl Season 3 review series. And today I'm going to be talking about Episode 6, Chapter 6, The Betrayal, which I have just finished watching. And this episode was absolutely fantastic, and once again this show continues to keep getting better and better every week, and it's showing no signs whatsoever of slowing down. So, as always, I'm going to give a quick recap of what's happened so far, and then we're going to get into talking about episode 6. So, over the course of season 3 so far, obviously we know that the gambler was murdered at the beginning of this season, and we've also seen a number of different suspects are in question. So who could the killer be? Could it be the Shade? Could it be Sylvester, aka the original Starman? Or could it be Cindy? Because we've been seeing over the past few episodes, Cindy is obviously hiding something. Or could it be her father, the Dragon King? Could it be someone completely different? Or it could be Dr. Bones, who was teased at the end of season 2. Could it be him who's working behind the scenes, pulling the strings? We don't know really, but all I know is that for this season, this show has done an amazing job in not only holding the suspense and keeping everybody on the edge of their seats, but the story arc has been very well told and very well paced. And so far, even though we are now 6 episodes into season 3, I've really been enjoying this story arc a lot because, unlike, I've said this before, unlike seasons 1 and 2, where it was team of good guys versus team of bad guys, they've kind of gone a different direction, as I've said in previous reviews, that they're going more with a murder mystery, and we're seeing all of the heroes using their detective skills to try and solve this mystery. And also, over the course of this season, we have seen Cameron and Courtney become a couple now, and we're seeing Cameron trying to get to grips with his icicle powers, and Courtney is more or less trying to show him that his powers can be used for good, even though his evil grandparents are trying to push him into using his powers for evil. Because so far, Cameron doesn't actually know that Courtney and the JSA had a big hand in the death of his father, who was the original Dr. Icicle. So, we all know that he's going to find out eventually, but it's just a question of when he will find out. And also, as we saw at the end of episode 5, we saw Yolanda break into Cindy's house and find the gambler's laptop. So clearly, Yolanda has been on a mission to try and prove to everyone that Cindy cannot be trusted, and it looks like it's going to finally happen. And as I've said, this episode in particular done a great job in just bringing everything to an epic head. All the secrets, all the lies, just all erupted. But the best thing about this episode, which I'm really pleased about, is it's far from over. We're just getting warmed up. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of this is going to pay off. So with that all said, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. Let's talk about episode 6, chapter 6, The Betrayal. So this episode opens up with Cindy looking at the old ISA portrait, where it has a giant scratch across the picture, and we see Cindy is packing all her stuff away as she attempts to leave the room. Now, as we all know, Cindy has slowly been transforming, and as we saw in a couple of episodes back, we saw her arm begin to show green scales, almost like a reptile sort of form. So it's clear that Cindy is going to transform into something. Maybe she might turn into what her father was, or she might turn into something completely different. We don't know yet, but we know that Cindy is hiding something and she is acting very, very strange. We also see Rick, who has now been given a full recharge from the hourglass that gives him the powers to be Hourman. And we see him break into the Blue Valley gym, and we begin to see him do some jaw dropping workouts with the weights. And it's kind of interesting to see that, you know, Rick, he's gone from being a very stubborn kind of character to being a real team player. And we see him working out here and timing himself. He's really grown a lot on me. He's become a real team player, as I said, and he's quickly become one of my favourite characters on the show. Obviously, my two main favourites are Courtney and Yolanda, but he's quickly getting up there. He's undergone some very interesting changes on the show, and yeah, he's definitely quickly climbing up there with those guys. I really like him a lot, and he's the real difference maker in the show, I think. And as I said, it's really interesting to see how much he's changed from the first time we saw him in season 1 to season 3 so far. So we see him, he's got the hourglass around his neck, and we see him picking up like the biggest heavy weight you could find, and he just lifts it up in the air. So he's definitely become a lot more stronger as opposed to the first time when we saw him become Hourman. We also see, while Rick is working out, we see he is being watched and monitored by someone in a dark room. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen this happen. We've been seeing someone in a room with full of monitors watching everybody in Blue Valley doing their own thing. So it's clear this could be the main villain who's working behind the scenes and pulling the strings. And we see this figure putting together a puzzle on the table. So it could be Dr. Bones, who knows, but all fingers do point to him. So you never know, he could be the one behind all of this. We also see in the church, we see Yolanda confessing to the vicar that she broke into Cindy's house. Now, as we all remember, at the end of episode 5, Yolanda broke into Cindy's house and found the gambler's laptop, which, as we all remember, placed Cindy at the scene of the crime. Now, we all know that she didn't kill the gambler, but she's not completely off the hook, so we know she's been hiding something. We know she's been keeping a secret from everybody in the JSA, and we see Yolanda not necessarily asking for forgiveness. We pretty much see her confessing to the vicar that I'm not looking for forgiveness. I'm looking for forgiveness for what I'm about to do. So she's been on a mission to try and prove to everyone that Cindy can't be trusted. And it looks like it's actually going to kick off in this episode as we move along here. We also see in this episode, we see Courtney is continuing to show Cameron how to use his icicle powers by concentrating on the things that he loves the most. And we see him create a ice sculpture of his dad, who, as we all know, was the original Dr. Icicle, who was a member of the Injustice Society gang. So we see him create like an ice garden, and we see him make the ice sculpture. I thought this was actually a really good scene. It does a really good job of building up the relationship between Courtney and Cameron, because we do know eventually that they are going to be ripped apart, but it's going to be interesting to see how we get to that point. And we also see in this episode, we see Pat and Barbara try to basically meet with Cameron's grandparents, which absolutely embarrasses Courtney. So we know that the grandparents are evil as well. They've also got icicle powers as well. And as we also move along here in this episode, we see Yolanda breaks into Cindy's house to try and put the laptop back, and we see Cindy catches her, and this ends up in a real epic fight between Cindy and Yolanda. Now, we know these two don't like each other right from the word go, and we knew this was going to come to a head. And this fight scene doesn't disappoint one bit, and I absolutely loved it. I thought this was definitely the highlight of this episode, and then it just gets even better. We see Owlman fully charged, ready to go on Yolanda's side, as we see Cindy take on both Yolanda and Rick at the same time. You know, as I said, this fight scene, it was great with Yolanda and Cindy, but now it's just got even better now that Rick is involved as well in his full Owlman costume. And we see her jacket get ripped, and we see her shoulder showing off her green scaly skin as exposed. So all of the secrets are all coming out as we see Beth looking on as she tries to encrypt the gambler's laptop. So it's really getting good here, and I thought this was definitely the highlight of this episode. And we see Cindy just basically say to the rest of the team that, well, I've got my secret. What about you? I mean, why don't you tell the rest of the team what you've been up to? And they all say, well, we know she's going out with Cameron. And they say, yeah, of course you know that, but did you know that she's also been training him? So obviously all the secrets and the lies are all starting to come to a big head. And for the most part, everybody in the JSA feels like they've been betrayed. And, you know, we see that Courtney's trying to reach out to Cindy, as we see Cindy slowly starting to transform. Her eyes start to glow yellow, like reptilian-like eyes. So everything's all coming to a head, really. I think this is an awesome payoff. And we even see Courtney step down and says, look, until we sort things out, I think it's best that Sylvester leaves the JSA for a while. And they all turn around and said, well, he kind of has anyway, because, you know, you haven't been around. We need someone to lead us, and Sylvester's been doing that. So it's far from over, but the way they're paying everything off, it's been great. I've absolutely enjoyed this so far. And then as we move along, as we come towards the end, we see Beth arrive, looking very nervous, holding the gambler's laptop, as they realise that they are being watched by someone. And this brings us back to the dark room, where we see this mysterious figure is watching everything on the monitors, and we see the puzzle is almost halfway to being complete, and we see like the shape of a skull being formed on the puzzle. So it definitely looks like it could be Dr. Bones. But overall, I would say this has been an absolute epic episode. I love the fight scene between Yolanda, Rick, and Cindy, because we know those two really don't like her. So sooner or later, they were going to come to blows, and they didn't disappoint. And what's more can you ask for, really? It's been absolutely amazing. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on episode 6? Did you enjoy it? Who do you think is the mysterious figure watching the monitors, putting the puzzle together? Could it be Dr. Bones? And also, what will happen now with Courtney and the JSA? Do you think they'll trust her again? And also, where do you think Courtney and Cameron will head? Do you think Cameron will eventually learn the truth about the part that Courtney and the JSA played in his father's death? And also, do you think it's possible that Cindy could be transforming into a new dragon, or some form of reptile or lizard? And also, what kind of role does the Dragon King play in all of this? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Stargirl Season 3 review series, where I am going to be talking about episode 7, which I am very much looking forward to talking about, especially with the way this entire episode played out, and especially with the way it ended. It's going to be an epic one, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it and, of course, talking about it. So, until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.